You are once again welcome to Evangelist Imakalu TV, Treasury of Excellent Knowledge. I am your serviceable servant, Evangelist Imakalu, as you know. I want to speak on the topic, the tough decisions and the tough move. The decision and the move are the two focus in this message. The decision you make in your life, the tough decision and the tough move determine your fate in life. The weak decision and reluctance, or the weak move or the wrong move, also determine your fate and the fate of many people related to you in one way or the other. These are the factors many people do not know. As you know, I am a human capital developer. I am into the business of developing human beings. That is bringing up the things that relate to our life, directing us, putting them together, guiding them to be doing the right things and to be avoiding the wrong things, doing the right thing at the right time and for the right motives, and to be getting the right result. Self-development for success, human capital development in righteousness. That is what I do. I am an evangelical author. I am also a custodian of Christianity. I have written and published 5 books. I have over 10 written, but 5 published. They are all available in Amazon, in Prime 7 Media, and some other platform where they are distributed and are being marketed. So I am not here for jokes. I am here for serious matters. Also, I have opened my private channel where people can be subscribing to me and be patronizing me for the work of God, for the progress of the ministry. It needs sponsorship. As I speak to you, I have up to 12 books written, but there is no money to publish all of them. Only 5 have been published, and all by my personal effort. I need people need me. So subscribe into that channel, into that private channel, and be my patron. Not just being my patron, you have something to benefit. I'll be dropping some special content inside of that private room where people will come. Then they will be happy for patronizing me for the quality of the content I'll be dropping into there from time to time. May God bless you. Let us continue. I want to use 5 Bible characters as example in this message of the tough decision, the tough move. What tough decision and the tough move can make in the life of people, and the failure to take them will also result in stagnation or backwardness, stagnation or retrogression. But the problem here, the most difficult thing is that a situation in life will come when making the decision and making the move becomes inevitable. It is either we make the tough decision and make the tough move, or we stay stagnant, and from being stagnant we begin to retrogress in life. It is not optional in this case. God knows about it. And God will not come from heaven to make that decision for us. He will not come from heaven to make that move for us. The move is dependent on us. What God does in this case is to empower us to make the move when we have made the tough decision. And this tough decision must be good. The tough decision must not be for evil. It must be for the good purpose, and God empowers that decision, inspiring us, empowering us to make the move and to be victorious, to getting the proper result necessary for it. So I will read a lot of Bible quotations So I'm just giving you the breakdown. The breakdown, I'm not going to go into detail so that the video will not take so long. I don't want it to exceed 30 minutes. 30 minutes at most is what I have in mind. The first Bible character here is Ruth. Ruth, let us read the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 1 to 19. Chapter 1 from verse 11 to 19. Ruth. But I'm reading from Amplified Classic. But Naomi said, "Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Have I yet sons in my womb that may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters, go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say, I have hope, even if I should have a husband tonight, and should bear sons, would you therefore wait till they were grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, it is far more better for me than for you that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me." Then they wept aloud again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Ruth clung to her. Orpah kissed Naomi bye. Verse 15. And Naomi said, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." And Ruth said, "Urge me not to leave you or to turn back from following you, for where you go I will go, and where you lodge I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die I will die, and where you will be buried, and the Lord do so to me, and more so, if anything but death part me from you." When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she said, "No more." So they both went until they came to Bethlehem, and when they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred about them and said, "Is this Naomi?" The key character here is Ruth. Ruth made a tough decision and made a tough move. At this point, Naomi was frustrated. Naomi left Israel and went to the land of Moab, where Ruth and Orpah were citizens. Naomi left Israel with her husband Abimelech. He left with her two sons, Mahlon and Shalom. So as a result of difficulty, or should I say satanic attack, and them moving on permissive will, they never consulted God properly to know whether that was God's plan for them to move. They moved because there was difficulty, famine, and scarcity of food, and economic crisis in Israel. Then they moved for greener pasture, but they never planned it with God. So the result came in as both Naomi's husband and her two sons died after they have married Ruth and Orpah. So Naomi was about returning to her country home, Israel. In the process, Ruth and Orpah were widows. Widows to the two late sons of Naomi. Naomi, in this context, was advising the two of them to never follow her because there is no hope with her. According to human philosophy and the human observation and the natural reality. After he had explained all those things, so there is no time for them. They shouldn't be hoping without any assurance. It is better they should go back to their country, get married to other men as young widows, and continue their life worshiping their own God because everything they had planned together for had crashed. It was painful to the two of them. Orpah decided to stay back in her country home, which is Moab. But we heard the statement of Ruth. Ruth said no. He said she will continue to follow Naomi, and anywhere Naomi will go, she will go with her. The God Naomi serves, that is the God she will serve. That the God, anywhere, even if where Naomi will die and be buried, let her be died and be buried there together. Why did she make this tough decision? Because she had witnessed the goodness of God in that family, irrespective of their tragedy, and how they were treated hospitably, good marriage. They were given the proper care and responsibility in marriage. And Naomi was not troublesome to them as a mother-in-law. She was like a nuclear mother to them, and that is the reason they cling unto her. But out of fear, out of not being assurance, of not being sure of what the future held for them, Orpah decided to stay behind. But Ruth continued. As I told you, it is about breakdown. When the story continues, Ruth was married to Boaz. Boaz was a wealthy man, and through her lineage, the ancestors of Jesus Christ was born. So Ruth is one of the ancestors of Jesus Christ according to life history, according to Bible history. She wasn't biologically Israelite, but she was one of the ancestors of Jesus Christ according to her faith. Because she could see the goodness of God, of Israel, she clings, I make this move, I make this decision. Don't worry me, even if it will not work. Let me alone. Stop disturbing me. This is the decision I have made, and this is the step I have decided to take. That step changed her life for good. Compare her to Orpah, who was not able to take that decision. That story was the end of Orpah, but Ruth is dignified, glorified in the human history, and she has a book in the Bible in her name, the book of Ruth, written in her name. So there are a lot to tell, but as I told you, all of this is a breakdown. The second person is David. David made the tough decision and made the tough move. So let us see First Samuel. Let us see First Samuel chapter 17. First Samuel chapter 17. I will read verse 31 to verse 32. I will read verse 48 to 54. He said, when David's words were heard, they were repeated to Saul, and he sent for him. David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of this Philistine. Your servant will go out and fight with him. When the Philistine came forward to meet David, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. David put his hand into his back and took out a stone and slung it, and it struck the Philistine, sinking into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling, with a stone, and struck down the Philistine and slew him, but no sword was in David's hand. So he ran and stood over the Philistine, took his sword and drew out of his sheath and killed him and cut off his head with him. When the Philistines saw that their mighty champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and Judah rose with a shout and pursued the Philistines as far as Gath and the gate of Ekron. So the wounded Philistines fell along the way from Sharaim as far as Gath and Ekron. The Israelites returned from their pursuit of the Philistines and plundered their tents. David took the head of the Philistines and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. We know the story of Goliath. and his co-Philistine confronting the Israelites, how the entire Israelites were scared, all of them shrinking in fear, including King Saul. Nobody was able to stand him. He was intimidating all of them. And the battle negotiation is that Israel should send their champion, while Goliath was the champion of the Philistines, and the both champions will fight. Anyone who defeats the other then will win victory collectively for their country, and the other country, the defeated country, will become their slaves. That was the battle bargain. Or they will invade Israel and do anything as they like. It's either surrender and become our slave, or we invade you, defeat you, kill you in high number, exploit you, and still enslave you. Make your choice. But David made the tough decision. He said he would go. He said he would go. A lot of us who know the story, everything that had happened, as you know, it is a breakdown. David depended on the power of God. He made the tough decision when there is no more choice. It is either you make the decision, or you surrender, or you try, if you or you give yourself, you give your entire country to fight and be defeated and whatever. But the option, the reason Goliath and his co-Philistine introduced that option of champion against champion is because around the world those days, Goliath had been fighting and been defeating and had never lost any battle with anybody. So they think it impossible for anybody to stand him one-on-one. But the reverse was the case when David made the tough decision and made the tough move. We could see the result. The third person is Esther. Some of us know the story of Esther and the entire Israelite in the land of Shushan. So Esther made the tough decision when the entire Israelite, the Hebrew as they are called likewise, when the entirety of them were in trouble under the threat of Haman and the rest of the non-Israelites in the kingdom of Shushan. Esther chapter 4, verse 6 to 17. So Hathach went out to Mordecai in the open square of the city, which was in front of the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened to him, and the exact sum of money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasury for the Jews to be destroyed. Mordecai also gave him a copy of the decree to destroy them that was given out in Shushan, that he might show it to Esther, explain it to her, and charge her to go to the king, make supplication to him, and plead with him for the lives of her people. And Hathach came and told Esther the word of Mordecai. Then Esther spoke to Hathach and gave him a message for Mordecai, saying, all the king's servants and the people of the king's province know that any person, be it man or woman, who shall go into the inner court to the king without being called shall be cut to death. There is but one law for him, except him to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come to the king for these 30 days. And they told Mordecai what Esther said. Then Mordecai told them to return this answer to Esther. Do not flatter yourself that you shall escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance shall arise for the Jews from elsewhere, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows but that you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this, and for this very occasion. Then Esther told them to give this answer to Mordecai. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast for me, and neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. I also and my maids will fast as you do. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went away and did all that Esther had commanded him. I'll continue to read from the book of Esther. Then you see, Esther made that tough decision. He decided that she would go. She believed in God, in the power of God, that God can change the game, change the situation, help them out. But God will not come down from heaven. Somebody must make the move. Mordecai had told Esther that this can be, that God had positioned her to be the wife of the king, King Ahasuerus, so that she would be able to perform at this tough time. Esther told her the cost. He said, if she approaches the throne to talk to the king, if she is not favored and not being accepted, she will be killed. But however, let her believe in God. Let them fast and pray together over it before she will make the move. Definitely she will make the move. If she perish, she perish. Even if God decides not to save, let her make the move, and anything that comes out, so be it. Chapter 5, verse 1 to 2. On the 3rd day of the fast, Esther put on her royal robe and stood in the royal or inner court of the king's palace opposite his throne room. The king was sitting on his throne facing the main entrance of the palace. And when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, she obtained favor in his sight, and he held out to her the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the tip of the scepter. Then Esther said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come tomorrow to the dinner that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. So at this point, the king had required Esther to state her demand. What brought her? What does she need to come close to the throne? What is her problem? What is her need? Explain. Then Esther said so. Chapter 7, verse 6 to 10. And Esther said, an adversary, an enemy, even this wicked Haman. The man was afraid before the king and queen. And the king arose from the feast in his wrath and went into the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make request for his life to Queen Esther, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. When the king returned out of the palace garden into the palace of the drinking of wine, Haman was falling upon the couch where Esther was. Then said the king, will he even forcibly assault the queen in my presence, in my own palace? As the king spoke the word, the servant covered Haman's face. Then said Habonah, one of the attendants serving the king, behold, the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman has made for Mordecai, whose warning saved the king, stand at the house of Haman. And the king said, hang him on it. So they hung Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's wrath was pacified. So Esther changed the game. Haman had conspired out of his pride and arrogance and despisement against all of the Jews, the Hebrews, and against their God, which is my God. By making the tough decision and making the tough move, the whole game was changed. There is satanic system of game changing. God also is a game changer for good and for his own. We have to learn to make the tough decision. So everything Haman had planned against Mordecai, against all of the Jews, turned against him and his family, and against all of his co-conspirators. I'm not teaching all of this in full. As I told you, it is just breakdowns. 4. The 4 set of the Bible character, which is 4 and the 4th. The 4 lepers. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 3 to 18. Now 4 men who were lepers were at the entrance of the city gate, and they said to one another, "Why do we sit here until we die? If we say we will enter the city, then the famine is in the city, and we will die there. If we stay here, we will die also. So now come, let us go over to the army of the Syrians. If they spare us alive, we shall live, and if they kill us, we shall but die." So they arose in the twilight and went to the Syrian camp. But when they came to the edge of the camp, no man was there. For the Lord had made the Syrian army hear a noise of chariots and horses, the noise of a great army. They had said to one another, "The king of Israel has hired the Hittite and Egyptian kings to come upon us." So the Syrians arose and fled in the twilight and left their tents, horses, donkeys, even the camp as it was, and fled for their lives. And when these lepers came to the edge of the camp, they went into one tent and ate and drank and carried away silver, gold, clothing, and went and hid them in the darkness. Then they entered another tent and carried from there also, and went and hid it. Then they said one to another, "We are not doing right. This is a day of good news, and we are silent and do not speak up. If we wait until daylight, some punishment will come upon us for not reporting at once. So now come, let us go and tell the king's household." So they came and called to the gatekeepers of the city. They told them, "We came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was neither sight nor sound of man there, only the horses and donkeys tied, and the tent as they were." Then the gatekeepers called out, and it was told to the king's household within. And the king arose in the night and said to his servants, "I will tell you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we are hungry. Therefore they have gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the open country, thinking, when they come out of the city, we shall take them alive and get into the city." One of his servants said, "Let some men take 5 of the remaining horses. If they are caught and killed, they will be no worse off than all the multitude of Israel left in the city to be consumed. Let us send and see." So they took 2 chariot horses, and the king sent them after the Syrian army, saying, "Go and see." They went after them to the Jordan. All the way was strewn with clothing and equipment which the Syrians had cast away in their flight. And the messengers returned and told the king. Then the people went out and plundered the tent of the Syrians. So a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, as the Lord has spoken through Elisha. Compare it to 2 Kings verse 1. Yes. The king had appointed the captain on whose hand he leaned to have charge of the gate, and the starving people trampled him in the gate as they struggled to get through for food, and he died as the man of God had foretold when the king came down to him. When the man of God had told the king, 2 measures of barley shall sell for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel tomorrow, about this time in the gate of Samaria. You see, the lepers, outcasts, people whose condition made them not to be accepted to stay in the city because they were suffering from leprosy. Leprosy is a contagious disease. So they were dwelling in the outskirts of the city, but due to an ongoing war threat between the Israelites and the Syrians, there was a famine. There was no food, no movement. There was famine in Israel. That people, there was no people, no passers-by, whether from Israel to Syria or from Syria to Israel. There was no passerby, and this passerby was their source, the source of the lepers, to get aid, to get arms, to feed themselves. Nobody was passing anymore, and no food was coming to them. They become so angry to the point of going to die if they should stay a little more. So they made the tough decision to say, let them go into the camp of the Syria. Even going to the camp of Israel, there is no food there. There was a high famine. Let them go. If they keep them alive and give them food, good. If they decide to kill them, better than for them to stay quiet and still die out of hunger. They made that move without knowing that God was preparing to use them, using their tough time and tough decision to perform miracles. And we had the story. So, performing the miracle, the Syrians had them coming thinking that it was a siege and a host of different armies, because it was in the night, thinking it was a different army, that is a collaboration between the Israelis, the Egyptians, the Amorites, and other smaller nations to invade and destroy all of them. They ran away, leaving the army camp and their cities abandoned, while the lepers fed themselves very well, taking good as much as they could, reporting to the Israelites. Israelites came and packed all of this thing happening the same night. The situation was changed as a result of that tough decision and the tough time. Okay, the man with palsy, that is the fifth person, the man with palsy. Let us see the book of Mark. Let us see the book of Mark, the man with palsy. We are going to use his case and the assistance from his friends. The book of Mark, the assistance from his help, even destiny helpers. Destiny helpers. Esther as a destiny helper, the 4 lepers as destiny helpers, David as a destiny helper to the entirety of the Israelites. We see them. Ruth as a destiny helper to the Gentile believers of God. Mark chapter 2 verse 1 to 5. Jesus returned to Capernaum, and a few days later the news went out that he was at home. So many people, compare it to Matthew chapter 4 verse 13. So many people gathered together that there was no longer room for them, not even near the door, and Jesus was discussing with them the word of God. Then they came bringing to him a paralyzed man who was being carried by 4 men. Compare it to Matthew chapter 9 verse 2 to 8, Luke chapter 5 verse 18 to 26. When they were unable to get to him because of the crowd, they removed the roof above Jesus. And when they had dug out an opening, they laid down the mat on which the paralyzed man was lying. When Jesus saw their active faith, springing from confidence in him, he said to the paralyzed man, "Son, your sin is forgiven." But some of the scribes were sitting there, debating in their hearts the implication of what he had said. I read it to verse 6. Mark chapter 2, verse 1 to 6. So Jesus, seeing the faith of his friend, they made the tough decision, made the tough move. They pulled out the roof. And this roof was a roof of somebody's house, where Jesus was invited to teach the people, to preach the gospel, and to perform miracles. They couldn't mind. According to them, they have decided, even if the owner of that house decided that they should repair the roof later on, they prefer to spend money to repair the roof than to let that opportunity of the presence of Jesus bypass them and their problem of helping their friend to be healed not being solved. They made the tough decision. They made the tough move. And we will see them receiving healing for their friend. Jesus said, "This your sickness, this your condition is caused by your sin. There is a sin you have committed which has caused you this dilemma. This is a repercussion of sin you have committed. This is a nemesis to you. But for the faith of your friends, for the tough decision they have made on your behalf, and for the good move, the tough move for you, be healed." And he was healed. So God is here to settle your case. Make your life genuine. And your prayer should be that you have destiny helpers. Your prayer also should be that you be destiny helper to others. Tough decisions. A combination of faith in God, tough decision, tough move, execution, putting in the good effort, and God taking over. The result must be achieved. So I don't want to continue to explain because the video has been so long. It is up to 38 minutes now. So I want to stop here. I remain your serviceable servant, Evangelist Ima Kalum. Until I come your way once again, I say to you, bye for now.